Okay, welcome to video 5 of my budget Studebaker pickup build. Yeah, a bit of a strange place to start, but I'm going to show you what I did over the last week. I ended up building a dropper bracket for the steering column, and I had this old bit of sheet metal off this old hot water service, so you know, never throw your scrap out. And I basically use this as a hard template. It's a little hard to sort of bend cardboard at right angles and hang something off it, where this thin sheet metal is perfect. You know, I've got plenty there. If I make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Very easy to work out. I just measured the plate that comes off that reinforcement bar under the dashboard, and then measured the mounting plate on the steering column, and there was a slight difference, so there was a bit of an angle that we had to cut the pattern out on. But once we got that done, I worked out the length of the bracket that came off that support bar, and just put it into the vise and bent it up, and then put it up underneath the dashboard and got a felt marker and just marked the holes out in it, drilled it, and then bolted that back up to the dashboard. Worked out what the perfect length for the drop would be, marked that with the felt marker, unbolted everything, put it back in the vise, bent it at that, drilled the holes, and that's basically it. So I'll take you in and I'll show you what we've got so far. Okay, this is the dropper that I fabricated out of that scrap sheet metal off my old hot water service. That's all it is. Just a bit of tin, and in the last couple of minutes what I've done is transferred that template, because I know it worked. I had the steering column hanging from it, onto a thicker piece of metal, which, as you can see, is now mounted up underneath the dash. It's not too bad a job either. From the top, you don't see it. You'd have to get down on your hands and knees to see that. But it'll be painted up. Everything will be painted up. It'll look great. And that was just out of a bit of scrap metal that I had. What I made the bracket out of was an old, basically, it would have come out as something like this, tool cabinet like that. It would have been mounted up there for something, and I managed to pick a few of these up from a tool company I worked for years and years ago. They were throwing them out, and I grabbed them for some scrap, and yeah, I ended up using one of these to build that bracket. So all I did was I drilled out, if I can get it in the light, hopefully the camera will pick it up. There's a couple of spot welds there, so I was able to get rid of that piece off there. Straightened out the plate, gave me a little bit extra in length, and then I was able to fold it all up. But that's actually the offcut from the piece I used. So yeah, keep all your old bits and pieces. You can see there, ended up using that for something at one time. Did the same, drilled out the spot welds just there and there, and took the piece off it. Not sure what that would have been for. Obviously something, but it served its purpose. So yeah, just there's the piece that I drilled out, but I won't throw that out. That might come in handy for something else. Just keep all your scrap. As you can see, that's at its full height there, and we've got plenty of downward movement. Okay, that's the steering column actually hanging off that bracket. As you can see, it sits beautifully up against, well, not up against the dash, but there's, you know, plenty of clearance there for your hand. It's not going to hit. That's at the full up position, so it can drop, and hopefully the light will be kind to us, but you can see the bracket there. Had a little bit of a hit and miss when I did bend up the bottom part. I drilled the hole on the wrong side, but that's why we make templates, and I was able to correct it and put the hole in the right spot. So that's come up all good now. That's hanging there. I'll bend up a bracket out of some decent size plate. But yeah, I'm very happy with that. It's just temporary. The base of it's just temporarily held in with some self-tapping metal screws. You know, I've got to put the floor pan in first before I can really mount all that up. But the floor recesses in here, so you know, that's pretty much going to be where it will sit anyway. So it's not too bad there. The other thing that I was working on during the week was the steering column linkage that runs down to the rack. This thing has been an absolute nightmare. I've tried to buy intermediate shafts that came off the same car that this rack and pinion came out of. I tried that, tried the power steering one, didn't work, tried a manual one, it didn't work. I needed to get get this uni to turn basically straight away as soon as it left the spline of the rack and pinion. With the power steering type that would have been originally on this rack, it didn't allow me to do that. I'll take you over here and I'll show you what we had. We had this sleeve here that comes off the rack, so the rack shaft would go in there, and you had the length of that, plus you had the length of the shaft before you got to the uni. Just with this sleeve alone being on the shaft, this was only millimeters away from actually hitting the chassis, so I couldn't use this at all. This is the correct one, a power steering. This is for a power steering unit, so unfortunately that cost me money and I can't use it, and I'm trying to sell it on eBay at a real cheap price, half of what I paid for it, and I still can't sell it. Then we went with the earlier model manual steering, because the manual steering one, as you can see, doesn't have the same sleeve. It goes onto the shaft and then has the uni there. Well, guess what? The hole's a different diameter. Very different. This is about 3/4 inch, and if I'm correct, let's have a look. Got my little gauge up here. Roughly 14 millimeters is about 9/16. So the manual steering one is 9/16 and the power steering one is 3/4 inch. But I didn't know this. Everyone was saying use a manual steering one, use a manual steering one. So I ended up buying one off eBay again, and it was no good when I got it. Two expensive to have an engineer, fitter and turner, drill that out, respline it. So unfortunately I've got two different intermediate shafts for the GM, rack and pinion, both in great condition. I can't use them. If anyone needs one, you know where to find one. So just getting back to this, I'll pull all this apart and I'll give you a bit of a look at what we got here. Okay. What we had is, if I can get it to sit there without it rolling off, which I don't think it, yes, there we go. Okay, this black section here is the original shaft that came off the Falcon column. If I remember rightly, that continued on down to about here, and then you had the uni on the end with a big like bell housing over the end of it to protect the uni, but no good. The splines inside it weren't fine, like on the GM rack. They were really coarse, and I'm not sure why they did that, because their splines on the other end of their shaft were fine, but they went with a really wide spline, really coarse spline on the Falcon racks, and that was no good. So what I've had to do is I've had to chop this tube down by a piece of solid 3/4 inch bar, and I've had a mate turn this down to 11/16, and we've slid that bar all the way into that hollow tube. Don't know if you can see inside there. You might be able to. So that tube has now become solid. It's not a hollow tube anymore. What I'm going to do is just weld around the diameter of that. Just drill a hole through the tube and into the shaft, not all the way through, just enough to put a spot weld on either side of it. And I ended up getting, if I can get him off, this universal off a supplier in New South Wales, I think. It's splined on one end and it's welding on the other. So it's awkward with one hand. So that'll get put on there and that'll get welded around the diameter, and I've ended up building a very, very solid steering shaft, or intermediate shaft, whatever you want to call it, out of 3 different components: an aftermarket uni, a solid piece of bar, and the original Falcon tube, and it fits beautiful. Okay, I thought I'd just show you this anyway, because as I said, when I got the truck, it was basically complete except for motor and trans and glass, but you know, there's the original steering wheel and part of the original column. Wish I had have kept the full column and steering box. It would have made a nice ornament for the garage. I've still got the wheel though, and it's in fairly good condition. There's no cracks in it, so it'll look nice on the wall. There's the chrome windscreen frame. You know, I've got those hinges which would help it tilt out, but I don't have all the bits that go through there that allow you to tighten the frame up once you've pushed it out. All the original running boards and valance panels, I've got those. I won't be using those. I'm actually going to bend up some new valance panels. You know, at some stage somebody put a hole in there for something, I don't know, maybe to run a cable through there or something. So, you know, it's a pretty shoddy job. It looks like it's been hit with a chisel. And I think one of the other ones here, we've got a couple of access holes, and there's a big cutout there for where the battery used to go, where the battery's all hidden now. So I'll just bend up a couple of these, and that's as simple as just bending them up at right angles and putting a flange or a right angle bend on each side. Very, very simple. I've got the support bars from the firewall to the radiator shell, so I got all those. All this stuff. These were the guides. I think they call them Bailey channels or something for the glass in the doors. I've got those. Can't use them. A little old, but I've got a template, which is great. Got all the framework that went around the internal door frame. So I got all that too. The running boards, which were made at that particular length, with it being a flatbed truck. You know, that was right for its configuration, but because I'm putting a tub on the back, as you can see, I've used a piece of timber there which resembles the length of these running boards, but I've got to come a little bit further back so that they meet up with the rear guards. This is a little bit of woodwork we took out of the roof. I always refer to we, it's me. But yeah, I've kept that for templates, and I've marked out what's what. So don't throw nothing away until your project's complete. Try and store everything away. Keep it. One thing I can't find, I've had a look in both my Aladdin's caves and the garage here, is the cutout from the roof. I wanted to show you all the nail holes that were around the edge of the opening there, where the fabric insert used to go. I know I've got it. I didn't throw it out. It's somewhere, but I've obviously put it under something. With it being flat, I'll probably stack something on top of it, and I just can't find it at the moment. But I wanted to give you a bit of an idea of how much extra I had to take out of the roof to eliminate those nail holes. Wasn't a great deal, but when I find it, I'll throw it into another video just to show you